Imagine a cloud made of sugar. Doesn't it sound strange? Candy makers produce more than 90 million pounds of marshmallows each year. That is the same weight as roughly 1,500 space shuttles. Now that's a lot. But here's the twist. Marshmallows are more than simply sweets, they're a culinary marvel with a rich history to match their texture. Once made from the sap of a plant and considered a medicinal treat, today marshmallows are a marvel of science, engineering, and culinary art. So, what exactly are marshmallows and how are these light candies made? Let's see the exact process of making marshmallows. First, let's discuss the ingredients used to make those deliciously fluffy marshmallows. Only a few ingredients are used, mostly sweeteners and emulsifying agents. To begin with, let's discuss the sweeteners. After all, marshmallows would not be marshmallows without some sugar. The usual suspects are corn syrup, sugar, and sometimes dextrose. Corn syrup leads the pack because it's not just sweet, it's also great at increasing solubility, which means it helps everything blend smoothly without crystallizing. This is key for getting that perfectly smooth, gooey texture. Next are the emulsifiers. Some of these are gelatin, egg whites beaten to a stiff peak, and sometimes even plant-based gums. A lot of people know them for making marshmallows puffy. Last but not least, don't forget the colors and tastes. Where would we be without our favorite blue, green, or pink marshmallows? These can be natural or man-made, but do you know how the emulsifier we're talking about is prepared? Gelatin is typically used as the emulsifier. The interesting thing about gelatin is that it's made by cooking down collagen from the connective tissue of cows, pigs, and fish. This process turns these parts into the gelatin we use in foods like Jell-O and marshmallows, which might sound a little yuck. After being dried, our gelatin needs to be brought back to life, also called blooming. It's pretty simple here. The dried gelatin powder is first sprinkled on top of the cold water. It gets bigger as it soaks up water. This process normally takes 10 minutes. This blooming step is important because it helps the gelatin dissolve easily when heated later. This makes sure that our marshmallows have the right spongy texture. Some people who make marshmallows at home use a different kind of emulsifier, like agar-agar or even whipped egg whites. They might want to try something new or be making vegan marshmallows. Getting each of these options ready is a bit different, like getting gelatin ready, but the goal is the same: to get them ready to trap air and give marshmallows their signature fluffiness. Now that the gelatin is growing and getting ready to work its magic, it's time to mix the sweet stuff. This is where the marshmallow comes to life. We start with water, corn syrup, and powdered sugar. Your recipe and the number of fluffy marshmallows you want to make will tell you how much of each item to use. First, we'll slowly boil this mix. This step is very important because it helps the sugar dissolve fully and the other ingredients mix well. If you're making this mixture at home, don't stop moving that spoon. The mixture needs to be stirred all the time so that nothing burns or sticks. You should also carry a candy thermometer with you since you'll need to monitor the temperature closely. You can move on to the next step when it reaches about 240 degrees Fahrenheit. In large-scale industrial settings, the mixture is often strained to remove any unwanted bits and ensure the smoothness of the final product. This step isn't usually necessary when you're making marshmallows at home, but it's all part of the meticulous care that goes into ensuring each marshmallow is just right. Now that our marshmallow mixture is beautifully blended with the syrup and gelatin, it's time for the most transformative step: whipping in a whole lot of air. This is what makes our sweet mix into the fluffy marshmallows we love. It's also possible to make our marshmallows unique at this point. Now is the time to add any flavors or colors. You can add a little vanilla for a standard taste or a swirl of strawberry for a different taste and color. There are a lot of options, and each batch can be made creatively. As soon as the extra items are added, the mixing can begin. A stand mixer with a whisk tool beats the mixture very hard. It needs to be whipped until it's fluffy, white, and has clearly grown in size. This process usually takes about 10 minutes, but it's crucial not to rush it. The air being whipped into the mixture gives marshmallows their signature puff. For those using a handheld mixer, be prepared for a bit of a workout as it can get tiring. It's not a good idea to mix this by hand with a whisk because it's hard to get the speed and regularity you need that way. Not being able to whisk the liquid quickly enough is a problem. You need a machine to help you do it. In a commercial setting, this process is even more intense. Large industrial pumps are used to beat the mixture, capable of adding so much air that the volume of the marshmallow mix increases 2 or 3 times its original size. This is how huge amounts of those perfectly round, very light and fluffy marshmallows are made. After this hard beating, the mixture will have a fluffy, cloud-like texture that is ready to be put into molds or pans and then eaten. It's time to give our marshmallow mix shape once it's light and fluffy, full of whipped air. This step is slightly different depending on whether you're making marshmallows at home or in a factory. Let's first discuss how to do it at home. You'll need to set up your area first. Spray non-stick food spray on a baking dish. That way your marshmallows won't stick to the dish while they set. Next, cover the area that has been sprayed with a thick layer of powdered sugar. Now, carefully pour the marshmallow mixture you beat into the dish you just made. Do this slowly to keep all the air you've whipped in. Once the mixture is in the dish, it's like setting Jell-O. The marshmallows will need about 4 hours to set at room temperature. During this time, they'll firm up and form a thin layer on the outside that holds everything nicely together. After the waiting time is over and your marshmallow slab has set, it's time to cut them into squares. This is where you can personalize your marshmallows, cut them big for a luxurious treat or small for perfect little bites. This shaping phase is super satisfying because you get to see the transformation from a fluffy mixture to actual marshmallows you can pick up and eat. Plus, there's something really fun about slicing through the soft, pillowy texture. It's a simple joy of homemade candy making. But when it comes to making marshmallows on a commercial scale, the process shifts into high gear with some cool technology. Extrusion is a process used in industries that is pretty impressive to watch. Here's how it works. The marshmallow mixture, which is already fluffy from all the air we talked about, is loaded into a special machine. This isn't a normal machine, it's made to handle the marshmallow mix with force and accuracy. The mixture is pushed through circular tubes under 200 pounds of pressure per square inch. Imagine that! Such extreme pressure helps the marshmallow set almost instantly without any need for the lengthy setting time we have at home. As the marshmallow travels through these tubes, it emerges on the other side as long, continuous strips or bands. These bands then travel along a conveyor belt where they start to cool down just a tad. Once they're cool enough to handle but still pliable, they're cut into the marshmallow sizes we're all familiar with. And it gets even more interesting because not all factories stick to making just the standard sizes. Some have changed their tools so they can make marshmallows of different sizes, like those tiny mini marshmallows for hot chocolate or those huge jumbo marshmallows for, well, whenever you want a really big treat. To do this, the machine has holes of different sizes that are used to squeeze out the marshmallow strips. Some companies do things in a completely different way. Instead of the long strips, they have parts of the machine that squeeze out marshmallows one at a time and put them right on the conveyor belt. That delicious, squishy marshmallow pillow we love to snack on is always the end result. no matter what method is used. Now, don't let your marshmallows be alone. Like, share, and subscribe to this channel to keep them company. After all, marshmallows taste best with other people, and our videos do too. Once the marshmallows are formed under a lot of pressure, they need to be cooled down. Marshmallows are very hot when they come out of the extrusion tubes and need to cool down quickly to keep their shape and texture. For companies, this is where cooling drums come in. These drums are very advanced tools for cooling sweets like marshmallows. Cool air moves around the marshmallows as they move through the drum, quickly lowering the temperature to a safer level. Shortly cooling the marshmallows helps them keep their shape and removes any extra starch sticking to them. Now, if you're making marshmallows at home, you have nothing quite as high-tech as a cooling drum, but you still need to cool your treats. It's best to let your marshmallows set at room temperature after you've poured and made them. Some people might want to put them in the fridge to speed up the process, but be careful. This can sometimes change their texture and make them too tough. In general, letting them cool down slowly at room temperature is the best way to get that right spongy structure. You can cook a marshmallow over a fire or heat a marshmallow again. The outside turns golden brown and caramelizes while the inside melts into a gooey mess. This shows how sensitive marshmallows are to changes in temperature. Once our marshmallows are completely cool and firm, we're almost ready to send them out into the market. But there are a few more important steps we need to take so they get to their destination in perfect shape. First, the marshmallows get a light dusting of cornstarch. This isn't just for kicks, it's critical in keeping them from sticking to each other. Think of it as a little barrier that prevents them from forming one big marshmallow blob in the packaging. If you're dealing with homemade marshmallows, you can use cornstarch for this too, or even powdered sugar, which adds a little extra sweetness and makes them even more irresistible. Now that they're dusted, the marshmallows must be completely dry and cool. Then they are ready to be packed and weighed. Most of the time, this is done in those clear bags you see in stores. These bags cover the marshmallows and let you see the fluffy treats inside. A lot of businesses also run these items through a metal detector to make sure they're safe and of high quality. This phase ensures that no metal or other undesired components were accidentally introduced into the production process. After this safety check, a batch number and a expiration or best buy date are written on each box. People and stores can use this to keep track of how fresh the food is. Finally, the marshmallows are packaged and delivered to stores where they may be bought and used to make hot chocolate and s'mores. Perhaps you want to discover the difference between store-bought and homemade marshmallows. That's pretty cool. There are some clear differences between marshmallows made at home and those made in factories where big machines are used to make them. The marshmallows you make at home are thicker than the ones you buy. This is because a stand mixer at home doesn't infuse as much air into the marshmallow mixture as an industrial mixer can. This doesn't mean homemade ones are inferior. In fact, many people prefer them. They often have a creamier texture, which combined with their density gives them a rich, luxurious feel. One more good thing about making marshmallows at home is that you can choose what goes into them. You can be sure that the ingredients in your treats are good, and you can change the recipe if you need to. Do you want to switch to a vegan marshmallow? Use a plant-based option instead of the gelatin. Would you like a certain flavor? You can add your favorite extracts or dry natural flavorings that you might not find in store-bought types. For less money and time, make marshmallows at home. You can also make them just the way you like them. You can add a personal touch to any project by making your own marshmallows. This is fun whether you're making a unique flavor for a party or just want to end a craft session with a tasty treat. You can buy marshmallows from the shop if you only need a few for a quick camping trip. But if you want something extra, like fancy marshmallows for hot chocolate or to show off at a party, Making your own is a fun project that everyone will enjoy. Now that we know how marshmallows are made, let's learn about marshmallows' past. Marshmallows are some of the oldest treats in existence, dating back to about 2,000 years before Christ. Originally, marshmallows were made using the mallow plant Althea officinalis, a flowering plant native to the marshes of Asia and Europe. The Egyptians were the first to make marshmallows by boiling pieces of root pulp from these plants and mixing them with nuts and honey. While the mallow plant was primarily used for its medicinal properties at the time, this special concoction was reserved for special events involving royalty or the gods. As we move forward in time, the French began crafting their own version of marshmallows around the mid-1800s. Candy stores would whip mallow sap with egg whites, corn syrup, and water. Initially, marshmallows were formed by hand, which was an extremely time-consuming process. To simplify and speed up production, candy makers eventually started using marshmallow molds lined with cornstarch. Although they eventually replaced mallow with gelatin, the treat continued to be known as marshmallow. By the 1900s, marshmallows began to be mass-produced, but it wasn't until the middle of the 20th century that a significant breakthrough occurred. The revolutionary extrusion process was created by Alex Dumas, which streamlined marshmallow making significantly. It no longer took several hours to create marshmallows. With this new process, they could be mass-produced in just about an hour, marking a new era in the manufacturing of this beloved treat. And that's a wrap on how marshmallows are made. From their ancient origins to modern manufacturing, these fluffy treats have a rich history and a fascinating production process. Whether you love the homemade variety or the consistency of store-bought marshmallows, there's no denying their appeal. Let us know your thoughts or any questions, and perhaps suggest what you'd like to learn about next. And see you in the next video.